All right, we are on our Unit 3 notebook. We're going to be working through our review questions that are on the back of the calendar page in your notebook. These first two questions are solving equations. We did this in Unit 1. We practiced more in Unit 2. So we'll continue to practice this on Unit 3. So here we go. Whenever we have a number in front of a parentheses, whenever we have a number in front of a parentheses, that means we need to distribute that number to both terms inside the parentheses. The mistakes we're seeing most often is that students are multiplying the first term, but then they are forgetting to multiply to the second term in the parentheses as well. So we need to make sure to remember to multiply to both terms. One thing that you can do to help you remember to do that is by drawing your little arcs from that 3 to both terms in the parentheses. So if I do that, 3 times 6 is 18. 6 has a p on it, so 18 gets the p. 3 times 6p is 18p. 3 times -1, remember that minus goes with that 1. This is probably the second most common mistake that we're seeing. People are not remembering to include signs when they're multiplying. So 3 times -1 is -3. I now rewrite the rest of my equation. 11p minus 45. In class, we say that we like to get the variables to the left and the constants to the right. The variable terms are just any term that has a variable attached to it, or sometimes it might just be the variable by itself. The constant terms are the terms that are just numbers, so no variables attached to them. We don't have to put our variables on the left and our numbers on the right. If you wanted to do it the opposite way, you could. But in class, we have always been consistent with telling people to put the variables on the left and our constant terms on our right. So we're going to continue to do that. Even though I can do it the other way, we're just going to continue to do with what we've been doing in class to maintain that consistency. So here we go. The 18p has a variable. It's already on the left, so we're going to keep that on the left. My -3 has no variable attached to it. That's a constant term. I want to move that to the right. So I'm going to say plus 3. If you start off by moving the 11p to the left, that's fine. You can do that too. It does not matter the order in which you move things around. So plus 3 on the left-hand side of the equal sign. Our rule is that what we do on one side of the equal sign, we do to the other. So I'm going to plus 3 on the right. -3 and plus 3 cancels that out. That's what we want to do, right? We're just trying to get this p over here on the left all by itself. So if I'm moving these numbers out of the way, I'm moving them to the right. That's a good first step. On the left, I'm left with 18p equals 11p. -45 plus 3 is -42. Now I have a term that has a variable on it on the right side of the equal sign, and I want that to be over here on the left. So to move that from the right side to the left side, I just subtract. That 11p is positive. I subtract it, make it 11p, negative 11p minus 11p on both sides of the equal sign. I forgot my p on my 18. 18p minus 11p is 7p equals -42. Okay, next most common mistake that we'll see is people will then want to subtract 7p or add 42. If we do either one of those things, one of the sides of our equal sign will be left with nothing on it. So at this point, I'm not trying to move things from one side of the equal sign to the other. I am just trying to isolate the p. I'm trying to get it by itself. So to get that p alone, I am going to divide by 7, because 7 divided by 7 is 1, and that's what I want. I want 1p. I don't want 7 p's, I want 1p. So I have to divide by whatever number is in front of our variable. In this case, it's a 7. So 7 divided by 7 is 1. But what I do on one side of the equal sign, I do to the other. So I divide by 7. Now, I have 1p, right? 7 divided by 7 is 1. If I want to write that 1 in there, I could, but I'm not going to. And then negative 42 divided by 7 is negative 6. If you're unsure when it comes to division or any of these mathematical steps, please use your calculator. When you're doing anything involving negative signs and minus signs, you have to be careful, make sure you're choosing the correct button. When I type in negative 42, I want to make sure that I'm actually clicking the negative button and not the subtraction button. So negative 42 divided by 7 equals negative 6. So p equals negative 6. Our second example is similar, although for this, we're dealing with our inequality sign. So we don't have an equal sign, we have an inequality sign. We're going to do things the same way we did on the previous example. We just need to be mindful now that we have an inequality sign instead of an equal sign. A lot of people like to draw their line down the middle, so we can do that. Let's draw our line down the middle. There's no parentheses in the original question, so I don't have to distribute anything. I can move on to my second step of trying to isolate variable terms on one side of my inequality. So I have a 2x on the left side, and I have a negative 1 on the right, and then I have a 5x on the right and a 20 on the right. So I want to get this negative 1 from the left and move it to the right. I think I might have said it was on the right before, and then it's on the left. So if I want to move this negative 1 from the left side of my inequality to the right side of the inequality, the opposite operation is adding 1. So plus 1. That cancels these out here. It makes it go away, which is what we want. But I can't just get rid of something on one side of an equal sign or an inequality sign. I have to do that same operation to the other side. I can't add plus 1 to my 5x because this 1 doesn't have an x on it. I have to be mindful of where I'm putting that plus 1. So plus 1 goes underneath my 20. On the left side of my equal sign, or I'm sorry, my inequality sign, I have a 2x. My inequality sign drops down. It's still less than or equal to. Now I have 5x plus 21. 20 plus 1 is 21. I want to get my variable terms to the left. So that means I want to take this 5x and get it over here. It's a positive 5x, so I'm going to subtract 5x. What I do on one side, I have to do on the other. That eliminates the 5x from the right, which I want. And I have to do it to the other side. 2 minus 5 is a negative 3x. I still have my less than or equal to sign. And then I have 21. Just like in our example over here, when I'm at this final step, I'm not subtracting or adding anything to move things from one side or the other. I'm just trying to get one of whatever variable I have. In this example, it's p. So I divided by 7 to get 1p. In this equation, I have an x Right now I have negative 3x's. I just want 1x. So to get to 1, I'm going to have to divide by negative 3. Negative 3 divided by negative 3. Negative 3. Negative 3 divided by negative 3 equals 1. That's what I want. I want 1x. What I do on one side, I have to do to the other. Negative 3 divided by negative 3 is positive 1x. Now when I divide by a negative, my inequality sign flips, points the other direction. Greater than or equal to 21 divided by negative 3 is negative 7. I might want to make a note to myself. I might put a little star here that says flip when dividing by a negative. All right, and I might want to write that somewhere where it's not taking up a lot of space in my next question. But that's it. That's 2 examples of solving equations. You will continue to see this for the remainder of the year. It's something that will not go away, so we need to get comfortable with it. If you have questions, you're still unsure about what to do when you're solving equations, please make sure you're signing up for FIT with either myself or your Algebra 1 teacher or any Algebra 1 teacher, or make sure you're asking questions in class. I hope these help, and we'll see you in class.